Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thank you for being with us here tonight for this Moonbat edition of the broadcast. It is Monday, April the 25th, going into Tuesday, April the 26th now. We're glad you can be with us here tonight. And to be getting into some news and information for you tonight. We'll also continue reading from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden for you here on the broadcast. And boy, there's crazy news. I'm picking and choosing what I'm talking about today because this is, I don't know, man. I think maybe some of you out there are probably feeling the same way I am now about all this stuff. I mean, it just sucks to sit back and watch everything that we knew was going to happen in the near future start to play out right in front of us. And the world always seems to be right on the brink of collapse right before election season, doesn't it? You ever notice that? I mean, always. All of a sudden, hellfire and brimstone is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, because now we're entering into the election cycle. So now it's, they're ramping the fear up around everything, or they're ramping their fear up around the economy, around civil unrest, around all of this stuff. And it's amazing to sit back and watch it all play out. You've got Ron Paul now announcing that he's going to run for president. Big surprise there. Why not? I mean, my God, he made so much goddamn money, shyster in all those fools last time and giving his ass money. I mean, my God, millions of dollars. And then makes a decision to run a quote unquote educational campaign, after he already took everybody's money and ran. I hope that people now, I know they're still going to rope in some dumbasses. They're still going to rope in some some do-getters and people who are well-meaning but just don't know any better. They're still going to rope a lot of those in, and he's still going to rake a lot of money. But there's definitely something bigger going on here. We'll get back to that here, and in just a minute. It's just crazy stuff. But we had William Bramley on the show with us last week. That was it was an interesting show. I was glad we got to have him on. And thanks to everybody who tuned in for that show as well. Love to hear from you tonight on the broadcast. If you have emails, you have anything you'd like to hear me discuss, talk about, get into on the show, I'd love to get them from you here tonight. Sometimes over the weekend and stuff, I get some in, but I get so many emails that sometimes they get lost in the shuffle. So if you've sent me things that you haven't heard me address on air, and you're listening tonight here live, maybe you can send me those back and any current questions, anything, especially if you sent it over the past 3 or 4 days, might be good to send those back in. globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's where you can send those in at, and I'll do my best to read them here for you on the air, on the broadcast tonight. And just so there you go, send them in, and we always get some good emails. So I'm happy to do that for you here tonight as well. We had some weird, wonky stuff going on with the chip in banner, the donate button. More effectively, I think the donate button. I don't know what was going on with it. Maybe it was outdated or something of that nature. I don't know, but people were having to use the shipping banner for the donate button. But this is our fundraising week, so we have our goal that we need to raise by the end of the week. It's up there at the shipping banner, theglobalreality.com, my website. So it's $400 there. We just need to raise that by the end of the week. So please donate and help us reach that goal before the end of the week so we can get all the bills paid and we'll be good to go here. So thanks so much to everybody who continues to support us. But yeah, I think I sent I did send a new updated donate button to Man Hydra, and I think he probably got it up there. So some people do have problems, some people don't. You can just try a different browser sometimes. I know it's inconvenient, but sometimes stuff like that is wonky when you're using, Firefox or Opera or anything other than Internet Explorer. So something to look at there. So there you go. This news is just completely ridiculous, and it's just an intensification of this stuff. I mean, I really see more and more the operation that's been launched, because we've all sort of now figured out, or at least we should, at least most of us have. If you listen to this broadcast, you figured out the whole thing. I don't think anybody listening to my broadcast is going to vote for Ron Paul. If you do, you're a complete and utter fucking idiot, and I don't want you listening to my show. Thanks. Carry on about your business. I mean, if you've gotten this far, oh, man, you hadn't figured that out. I don't think I can do much for you, honestly. Don't know what you're looking for here. No, sir. But, I think that I think this is an amazing thing that we're going to see play out, because there's so many people that buy into this idea that politics is still, the legitimate way to go, and our form of government is great. That's I never can understand that. Oh yeah, America's great and it's founded on the right principles. We just need to get the right people in there. I mean, that's complete hogwash, man. None of this stuff was ever made for us. It wasn't set up for us. It was set up to make us slaves to the system indefinitely, under the guise of believing that we were free. This is the ultimate goal of anyone who would seek to enslave a people. That's what America has became. And now they've got us enslaved. Now they got us by the ball. So it's time they can just, blow out the dummy corporation that is America and continue on about their business. I don't know. Just go through here. They're looking at all this stuff. I think that I think this go around, there's a lot more people now that are savvy to, this idea of all these politicians working together. I really do think that we're going to see a lot of interesting things play out during this. I think this very well could be what I predicted for a long time, being the spark that sparks off civil unrest and civil war in the United States. I think it's coming. I think we're very close to that. I think it's going to happen in the election cycle. And I think it's going to be the classic divide and conquer thing, where they're going to it's going to be, people who just want to go along to get along and go along with the system and really don't care who's in there, Democrat or Republican. They're going to convince everybody to just, don't worry, just let the government take care of this and forget all those crazy extremists who don't want to do it our way, and those people who don't want to be enslaved. Don't listen to those guys. And I think they could do something crazy like, everybody thinks they're going to assassinate Barack Obama and all this stuff, but I think they could do it the other way around. They could do it, because remember, we've seen these. They're trying to push the idea of the crazy extremist types back away. Everybody thinks that they're trying to make all the right wingers and whatnot look like the crazy extremists, terrorists, and all this stuff. And yes, there is that to a certain extent, but it seems like that's all people ever throw out there. We've seen evidence in cases where it's apparent that they're trying to make there be extremists on both sides of the phony political spectrum. You hear about right-wing extremists and right-wingers that, Joe Stack flying his airplane into the building or whatever have you, so-and-so shooting a cop and, he's into Alex Jones or whatever. But we've also seen the left field side of that, where you have the guy who went in and, into the Discovery Channel popping off rounds and, mumbling all this mumbo jumbo bullshit about global warming and all this stuff. So you have these left and right wing extremists. I wouldn't put it beyond them for there to be some, crazy left wing extremist that maybe, takes a shot at Ron Paul or shoots Ron Paul or something of that nature. I think there's going to be massive divide and conquer and massive push towards more civil unrest as we continue to see the things playing out that we're seeing play out here. And, right on the same day that and it is official now. I think earlier it was maybe up in the air, but it is official. They've officially announced that, Ron Paul is running for president. So the John Birch Society controlled Jesuit clown he is. These videos, he's always speaking at Loyola University or Georgetown. That's where he specializes in. He specializes at just speaking at all the Jesuit schools. I wonder how that's just a coincidence, isn't it? We're just supposed to overlook that. Well, he's got good constitutional values. And now they're saying they're bringing another one of the sons in. I mean, they've been pushing this from the get-go. I think they're going to merge. We may see a two-party ticket with Michelle Bachmann and Ron Paul on it. They may run the option that I thought they were going to run. I think they're going to pull a Hillary on this. Remember for the longest time when everybody thought Hillary was going to be the front runner, everybody thought Hillary was going to be it, and then all of a sudden they pulled Barack Obama out of nowhere, out of the side hatch. Same thing they did with Sarah Palin. They gave a test run with Sarah Palin and effectively figured out she wasn't going to fit the test. But now Michelle Bachmann has raised tons of money, and she's a woman. This could be a game changer. And all the tea baggers and the tea partiers and the Patriot types and Alex Jones types would be like, folks, as long as that Ron Paul's getting out there and Ron Paul's on the ticket, we had to vote for him, folks, even though he's with Michelle Bachmann, blah, blah, blah. She's not that great or what, whatever. They'll rationalize it and justify it anyway. But I think we're seeing a massive influx and a massive rebirth of what I have deemed a while back the new right. We're seeing a rise of this now. And there's a good chance that this new right, consisting of the teabaggers and Ron Paul and the Patriot Times, could take over and could win the elections. It's funny how that would happen. They November elections. It would happen like a month before December 21st, 2012. Isn't that awesome? That'd be fitting poetic justice, wouldn't it? Yay, Ron Paul got elected president. Yay. And then a month later, end of the world. It'd be fitting poetic justice. Here you go, fuckers. He was your president for a month. I hope you're happy. Take it or leave it, bitches. That would be fucking fitting poetic justice, wouldn't it? Oh, man. That would surprise me in the least. Let's see what else we have here tonight. Well, let's just get down to the down and dirty of it right out of the gate, shall we? State Department wants passport applicants to reveal lifetime employment history. I mean, it's, people have speculated for the longest time, I think, without a whole lot of evidence, and I think some people, when they say this, and I have heard various people say it, I had friends that have said it, and you kind of say this, and all of us have probably said it at one point or another, but we're kind of like, well, we almost don't want to say it because we don't want to sound paranoid. But I think a lot of us have at some point either thought about, or said out loud that it seems that the United States government is trying to figure out any way they can to not allow us to leave. Anybody else kind of get the impression that these people are slowly kind of closing the prison doors? I mean, you can come in by the truckloads if you're illegal, but you can't get out. They're turning this motherfucker into one gigantic roach motel, aren't they? Anybody else get that little creeping sensation, little creep of worry up the back of your neck that maybe that's what's going on, that we may have a massive roach motel situation going on in this country? Get us all in here and then not allow us to leave so they can kill more of us all in one shot. I've been kind of worried about this. And again, it's kind of one of those things you don't even whisper about or even talk about with your close friends because, I mean, does teeter on the paranoid side. It does teeter on the, sort of the, you could get into a fear-mongering mindset with it. But this doesn't make me feel any better about that. The U.S. State Department has proposed a new questionnaire that would make it almost impossible for some people to get a passport. The new document, which would require that certain applicants submit a list of every residence and every job they've ever had since birth. In February, the department published a request in the Federal Register allowing 60 days for comment before the new rules go into effect. The biographical questionnaire for a U.S. passport, Form DS-5513, is used to supplement an application for a U.S. passport when the applicant submits citizenship or identity evidence that is insufficient or of questionable authenticity. According to a supporting statement issued along with the request for comment, the form is issued prior to passport issuance and solicits information relating to the respondent's family, birth circumstances, residences, schooling, and employment. In addition to this primary use of the data, the DS-5513 may also be used as evidence in the prosecution of any individual who makes a false statement on the application and for other uses set forth as in the prefatory statement of the passport system records notice. The document also requires some applicants to submit information about the mother's prenatal and postnatal care. What? What the fuck? Why do they need this kind of... Again, this is one of those bordering on creepy, bizarre aliens are walking among us right now and they know it level things that it just bizarre. Why do you need to know your mother's prenatal and postnatal care? What do you want to know? That my mother ate the fuck out of Mexican food when she was pregnant with me? Okay, there you go. She did. Prenatal. The fuck does that matter? Postnatal care. She fed me from a bottle and I grew up and I'm 34 years old and I'm alive. What more do you need to know? Pre and postnatal care for your application for a passport? Again, I think that the Roach Motel scenario may be creeping in around us, ladies and gentlemen. Roaches get in, but they don't get out. Americans get in, but they don't get out. This could be what's going on here. I'm starting to get worried. I've thought about this for a while. And again, you know, it's not something you want to admit to yourself or even say out loud, but what else am I supposed to think with an article like this, you know? My God, this is fucked up. The State Department is estimating that the average respondent would be able to compile all this information in just about 45 minutes, which is obviously absurd given the amount of research that's likely to be required to even attempt to complete the form. Consumer traveler Edward Hasbrook noted the Consumer Travel Alliance opposes the new form as exceeding the statutory authority of the DOS, unconstitutional, and in violation of U.S. obligations pursuant to the international human rights treaties to which the U.S. is a party. Choosing to require an applicant for a passport to complete the proposed Form DS-5513, which few, if any, applicants could complete, would amount to a de facto decision to deny that applicant a passport. And that decision would be standardless, arbitrary, and illegal. The State Department had not returned a call asking for comment at the time of this publication. So, I mean, this is, again, you know, they're making it very, very difficult to get out. That should worry us. You know, that they want to corral us all here. Allow China to call in all of their debt. And then, boom, we just created a gigantic slave economy with a slave country with everybody here as slaves of the system, you know, paying off their penance and their debt to the state. It is starting to look that way. Hate to have to admit it, but it is. And here you go. China proposes to cut 2/3 of its $3 trillion in U.S. dollar holdings. All those who were hoping global stock markets would surge tomorrow based on a ridiculous rumor that China would revalue the CNY by 10% will have to wait. Instead, China has decided to serve the world another surprise following last week's announcement by PBOC Governor Zhao Zhaoxinchan that the country's excessive stockpile of U.S. dollar reserves has to be urgently diversified. Today, we get a sense of just how big the up-and-coming Chinese defection from the buy U.S. debt national equilibrium will be. Not surprisingly, China appears to be getting ready to cut its U.S. dollar reserves by roughly the amount of dollars that was recently printed by the Fed, or about $2 trillion or so. And to think that this comes just as news that the Japanese pension fund will soon be dumping who knows what. So once again, how about that end of quarter again? And apparently they're having an emergency economic meeting between China and the United States coming up in May. And Of course, the IMF as well is flapping and sounding the red alert bomb here, getting everybody just riled up and ready to go. I mean, we're moving into a new economy. Everything's shifting around. Everything's going to be business as usual, but America's not going to be the top dog anymore, and this country's going to not going to be what it used to be. We're all going to be indentured servitudes, paying off our alleged debt. Even if we don't have debt, we're still going to be paying it off to and being indentured servitudes to their system for our survival. For the first time, the International Monetary Fund has set a date for the moment when the age of the end of America will end. What? That doesn't make any sense. Let's start this over. The International Monetary Fund has just dropped a bombshell and nobody noticed. For the first time, the international organization has set a date for the moment when the age of America will end and the U.S. economy will be overtaken by that of China. And it's a lot closer than you may think. According to the latest IMF official forecast, China's economy will surpass that of America's in real terms in 2016, just 5 years from now. Put that in your calendar. It provides a painful context for the budget wrangling taking place in Washington right now. It raises enormous questions about what the international security system is going to look like in just a handful of years, and it casts a deepening cloud over both the U.S. dollar and the giant treasury market, which have been propped up for decades by their privileged status as the liabilities of the world's hegemonic power. According to the IMF forecast, which was quietly posted on the fund's website just 2 weeks ago, whoever is elected U.S. president next year, Obama, Mitt Romney, Donald Trump, will be the last to preside over the world's largest economy. Most people aren't prepared for this. They aren't even aware it's that close. Listen to experts of various stripes, and they will tell you that this moment is decades away. The most bearish will put the figure in the mid-2020s. But they're miscounting. They're only comparing the gross domestic product of the two countries using current exchange rates. That's a largely meaningless comparison in real terms. Exchange rates change quickly, and China's exchange rates are phony. China artificially undervalues its currency, the renminbi, through a massive intervention in the markets. In addition to comparing the two countries based on exchange rates, the IMF analysis also looked to the true real terms picture of the economies using purchasing power parties. Parities, that compares what people earn and spend in real terms of their domestic economies. Under PPP, the Chinese economy will expand from 11.2 trillion this year to 19 trillion in 2016. Meanwhile, the size of the U.S. economy will rise from 15.2 trillion to 18.8 trillion. That would take America's share of the world output down to 17.7%, the lowest rate in modern times, and China's would reach 18% and rising. Just 10 years ago, the U.S. economy was 3 times the size of China's. Naturally, all forecasts are fallible. Time and chance happen to them all. The actual date when China surpasses the U.S. might come even earlier than the IMF predicts, or somewhat later. If the great Chinese juggernaut blows a tire, as a growing number fear it might, it could even delay things by several years, but the outcome is scarcely in doubt. This is great fear-mongering, because they tell you right there that none of these numbers are even accurate. And I'm not denying any of this may play out, and it may happen very soon. But the fact of the matter is, there's blatant fear-mongering going on in this, because they're sitting there telling you that a lot of the information they're basing this on is not really, it's just based on estimates, and it could change anyway. See, but you got to read down past the fear-mongering title from Market Watch here to figure that out. So again, not denying China's hold on America, not denying they're going to tank it, not denying any of that. But at the same time, this is a classic case of a run around and shit yourself and be scared type of article. Because we all know things are bad, but right there they try to tell you, oh, yeah, the end of America is coming right around the corner. And then they say, well, yeah, but it could be, 20 years from now. It could be 2 weeks from now. It could be 2 years from now. We just don't know for sure. Well, I mean, yeah. Again, same old thing. You could get run over by a fucking 18-wheeler being driven by a gorilla tomorrow. Whatever. Piano falls on your head. I mean, it's just that sort of vague, oh, well, we don't know for sure. We just know things are bad and it's going to all fall and go to shit sooner or later. So be scared about it and shit yourself and buy silver and listen and vote for Ron Paul and you'll be okay. Okay? Buy my water filter, buy my Jew gold, vote for Ron Paul. Satan's cock. Yeah, put that on the list too. And, everything is going to be okay. And then we just have people going around just saying shit out of nowhere that has no meaning whatsoever. Pat Robertson says leftists use abortion to make straight women equal with lesbians. Fighting for peace is like fucking for virginity? What? I mean, leftists use abortion to make straight women equal with lesbians. White people love Wayne Brady because he makes Brian Gumbel look like Malcolm X. I mean, that's pretty much what that says to me. What the fuck? This is out of nowhere. One more time for you, Teddy boy, before we go, or Pat, rather, Pat Robertson. One more time for Pat Robertson here. Suck Satan's cock. Suck that shit, Pat. Television evangelist Pat Robertson said Monday on ABC's Family, ABC Family's The 700 Club, that progressives support legal access to abortion because they want to make straight women equal with lesbians. So, straight women are not equal with lesbians right now? Why not? Everybody likes to lick vagina, right? What's wrong with that? I have no problem if everybody in the world likes to, if everybody, man, women, and whatever likes to lick vagina, I'm cool with that. No problems with it. I'm all right. You like to, yeah, you know. Hi, I'm a lesbian. Great. I like to lick vagina too. We have something in common. Hey, you want to hang out? I mean, seriously, that's the way I see it. You know, hey, what the fuck? I don't care if you don't like dick. You like vagina. We have something in common. Let's grab a beer. You know? You into Star Trek? Yeah, I bet you are. Let's come on. Let's go watch this, you know? That's what I'm saying. So I think what we have here is we have a clear-cut example of a bulletproof piece of evidence. And that bulletproof piece of evidence is this. You ready? This is the answer, folks. Pat Robertson doesn't like to eat pussy. And that really says all that you need to say about him. Because you can't suck Satan's cock and like to lick vagina as well. It just doesn't work that way. Sorry, Pat. We know what side of the field you play on, and we know that you definitely putt from the rough there, sir. So thank you so much for that. And what the hell is this? You know, what was all these like? What? You know, I was just getting it last time there was an election back in when I started on the radio in 2007. That was like right in the heart of when, you know, everybody was going Ron Paul crazy and Ron Paul mania was running everywhere. And coincidentally enough, it was right at the same time when I was finding out about the Council for National Policy, and I was first doing radio shows about that and researching it. And that was what was kind of mind blowing to me, is because I kept seeing a lot of these CMP guys. They were all everywhere. They were all over media. They were all over the news and everything during the election cycle. McCain, it was in front of a Council for National Policy podium at one of his campaign stops. It was on CNN. And so for me as a guy who was just kind of finding out about the group, to see all these connections, it just seemed that during the election cycle, those guys were out of the woodworks. And of course, now with other research that I've done and found out about, you know, their involvement going back to the days of Reagan, and then of course with Poppy Bush and the days of Clinton, and you know, all those guys cooking up the plan to impeach Clinton in the CMP meeting, all that stuff's admitted to, you know, and here they are. They just seem that these guys have been kind of out of the spotlight for a while, here and there, kind of spotty. But right here on top of Ron Paul announcing his run for presidency today, we have this. Grover Norquist just comes out of nowhere. You know, all of a sudden, you know, what? Why do these guys always start coming out of the woodworks right around the time of the elections? So that's their job. That's what they're paid to do. These guys are there to put up the appearance of a phony side. They get you roped in. One of them. Most people don't know who Grover Norquist is or know that he's a socialist or any of the rest of this stuff. Grover Norquist slammed Senator Coburn over breaking no tax hike pledge. And so there's a clip here of him all over MSNBC again. Odd that you would see Norquist coming out and yelling about tax hikes right as, you know, Ron Paul is announcing his run for the presidency. And of course, I mean, just looking at Grover Norquist, looking at the stuff that he's been involved in. I mean, he was one of McCain's minions, for God's sakes. And he was heavily involved with Jack Abramoff and that whole crew. I thought the guy that played Grover Norquist in the Jack Abramoff movie was spot on. But yeah, watch that film. You'll get a good idea of what Norquist is up to. And of course, he was at Ron Paul's rally for the Republic. So him and Ron Paul are big buddies. And this guy Norquist stands for everything that is really the end, from what I've found, the antithesis of what, you know, the average truther patriot type says that they stand for. But again, you know, a lot of people get roped into this right-wing socialist thing. I mean, I see people all the time that I think that I have great respect for posting stuff in my chat room regarding Lyndon LaRouche, you know, and LaRoucheite stuff, right-wing socialist stuff connected to Tarpley and all that. My God, when are you guys going to figure this out? Sick stuff. You know, last year we had, speaking of sick stuff, we had the Rent Boy scandal where we had the, remember the guy from Florida, the big anti-gay guy who got caught with the, you know, 8-inch sculpted male cock that he claimed was just, oh, I just hired him to carry my luggage around. Dude, you hired a guy with a fucking ad that said 8-inch sculpted cock to hire you for $1,000 an hour to carry your bags around all weekend? You're not on the Senate floor right now trying to sell a bullshit bill, cocksucker. But it goes to show you the hypocritical nature of all these guys. And here we go yet again. Robert Watson, a high-ranking Republican state legislator in Rhode Island, is in hot water after being charged with driving under the influence of marijuana and possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Oh, my God. No, not that. Not the evil, wacky weed. No, anything. My God. I mean, this is 2011. Are we still, you know, holding our hands over our mouths like, oh, my God, marijuana, wacky weed. Oh, it's so terrible. It makes you want to claw your eyes out and shoot Drano into your jugular. It leads to harder drugs like Drano. Yeah. I mean, are we still freaking out over some goddamn plant, or literally? It's just retarded to me. Everybody smokes pot. That's the big secret. Everybody acts like pot is some big secret. You want to know what the big secret about pot is? Is that everybody smokes it, whether they admit it or not. And there are people out there in the world. Yes, there are. I never understand this phenomenon, but it's true. It actually does exist. I've seen it and heard about it. There are people out there who actually smoke pot, but, you know, they won't admit it. You know, whatever, but it's just a plant. I mean, my God, somebody gets caught, you know, some senator gets caught with a crack pipe and some dirty needles and some heroin. Yeah, throw him into the jail. He's in hot water to being charged with driving under the influence of marijuana and possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Drug charge alone would be bad enough for a public official, but Watson, Rhode Island's House Minority Leader, is still remembered for his controversial anti-drug, anti-gay, and anti-immigrant remarks. In February, Watson said the Rhode Island legislature had their priorities right if you're a Guatemalan gay man who likes to gamble and smoke marijuana. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. These guys are just pulling shit out of their ass left and right now. They're just trying to make shit up. They're in such a frenzy to push their ideologies of divide and conquer and get you on a side about a belief system. Especially these, you know, truther and patriot types and religious types and teabagger types. They're aching to get you on their divide and conquer team. Boy, they're the ones that are stirring up all this negativity and trying to get us divided against. You need to be on the side of freedom and liberty and the Constitution, and you need to be on the side for gun rights and all this stuff because we got this enemy over here. And that's the whole idea of building up this mentality that everyone is your enemy. But honestly, no one in our human race is our enemy. The only reason we make the distinction of enemy is because they supplant us with this phony ideology that we then create to divide ourselves over these belief systems that we allow ourselves to believe are real when they were nothing more than illusions. I want to know what this guy has. Sounds like to me he's got access to The Reverend Sung Young Moon's favorite, the cream of some young guy, rather. Yeah. The Reverend Sung Young Moon's spirit world communication device. He claims he has this device where he's talked to dead presidents and, you know, he's talked to Adolf Hitler and they've all given his thumbs up and all this stuff. Listen to this. The idea that all internet traffic should be treated equally, known as net neutrality, is against the teachings of the Bible and America's founding fathers, according to evangelical Christian minister and political activist David Barton. During his radio show on Tuesday, he said that net neutrality violated the biblical principle of free markets. The biblical principle of free markets, a principle upheld by Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and George Washington. This is part of the reason we have prosperity. So, according to this guy, Ben Franklin and the Pilgrims were all opposed to net neutrality. Wow, that's pretty presumptuous. Again, he must have access to Reverend Sung Young Moon's spirit communication device. Wouldn't surprise me, because it says that Barton was co-chair of the Texas Republican Party for 8 years, is the founder of Wall Builders, an organization dedicated to America's forgotten history, and a lecturer for Glenn Beck's online Beck University. Time magazine named him one of the 25 most influential evangelicals in the United States. So there you go. Connected right there with Glenn Beck. Hell, right into the CMP. Maybe he does have access to the spirit world communication device. I don't know. This is a great one right here. You guys hear about this? This is a great story. I got to cover this. Last week, New York State characterized freeze tag, wiffle ball, kickball, and dodgeball as potentially hazardous, thereby subjecting camp providers overseeing those games to state regulation. Out west, the NCAA is at odds with the University of North Dakota over the continued use of the nickname the Fighting Sioux and its accompanying logo. But neither was the politically correct story of the week. That distinction belongs to a controversy surrounding a world-renowned surgeon who resigned a leadership position in face of criticism over a one-liner he delivered concerning semen. Lazar Greenfield, MD, is no ordinary surgeon. Listen to this. Listen to how fucked up our priorities are in this country, where you can't even say something that's off cuff and can maybe kind of, you know, sexually suggestive and joking around if you are considered to be in a profession that is considered to be, you know, professional and upright and have these phony morals attached to it. Listen to this. Until last week, he was the president-elect of the American College of Surgeons. The man is the inventor of the Greenfield filter, a device that has saved countless lives as a means of preventing blood clots during surgery. He's a professor emeritus of surgery at the University of Michigan. He has written more than 360 scientific articles in peer-reviewed journals, 128 book chapters, and 2 textbooks. My God. He has served on the editorial board of 15 scientific journals and was also the lead editor of the Surgery News, the trade publication in which his writings initiated Semengate. In the February issue, he penned some thoughts on Valentine's Day under the heading of Gut Feelings. But Valentine's Day is about love, and if you remember a romantic gut feeling when you met your significant other, it might have a psychological basis. Greenfield proceeded to then discuss the mating habits of fruit flies, the mating habits of the rotifer, and in each case, Dr. Greenfield made sure to reference them in scientific literature. Then he turned his attention to humans. Dr. Greenfield noted that the therapeutic effects of semen, citing research from the Archives of Sexual Behavior, which found that female college students participating in unprotected sex were less likely to suffer from depression than those whose partners used condoms, as well as those who remained abstinent. Presumably, it was the closing line that caused the controversy. Quote, "So there's a deeper bond between men and women than St. Valentine would have suspected. And now we know there's a better gift for that day than chocolates." Oh, yeah. Oh, there's something a little bit better than that day. Oh, right. Yeah. A little man gravy for you. You like it. It's better than chocolate, baby. Open up. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's good stuff, you know. I don't see the problem with that. There's a better gift for that day than chocolates. It's just, you know, hey, you read into that what you want to read into it. I mean, the guy's a heavy hitter. Did you hear that? It's served on the editorial board of 15 scientific journals, lead editor of the Surgery News. My God. You make this guy step down for, you know, adding a little humor to it. I mean, well, he, like you said, it backed it up scientifically, right? The therapeutic effects of semen. I mean, he's just trying to get it out there. He's trying to let you ladies know, you know, has therapeutic effects. It's, you know, remember that? What was that one guy a couple of years ago? Yeah, he got caught because he was going around telling women that he had holy semen. And if they drank it and rubbed it on their face and, you know, bathed in it and doused their tongues in it, that they would be, you know, anointed with it. Oh my God, man, that's balls. That is balls. We're going to take a break, come back, and finish up with whatever news we have left here tonight. Love to hear from you. GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. It's GlobalRealityShow@gmail.com. We'll also be continuing reading from William Bramley here for you tonight. This is the Global Reality. Back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Moon batting it up for you tonight. Flap them, flap them moonbatty wings tonight. And we're here with you and glad you could join us. We will be continuing on with just a few more news stories here, not a bunch. And then we're going to be reading and picking up where we left off last time from William Bramley's The Gods of Eden. And again, I want to thank William Bramley for coming on with us last week. Really enjoyed having him on. It was a good conversation. And, you know, he's not really a guy that's really into actively researching anymore, but so that was very good talking to him and getting his perspective on some of this stuff now. And, you know, you never know. Maybe we'll get him back in and look into some of this stuff, because it's more or just as relevant today as it is or ever has been, honestly. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys this. I mean, you can't ignore it anymore. I mean, it's, you know, you guys know this as well as I do, you know, even in the moments where you're not trying to pay attention to this stuff. You know, you do try to give you those moments. I know all of ourselves try to give ourselves at least, you know, some moments of not really trying to pay attention to the news, you know, and not really see what's going on. But like anymore, it's just reached a level of exponentiation where, you know, even when you're not really trying to pay attention to that kind of stuff anymore, it's just always there. It's all pervasive. It's all around you. You always notice it. You always see little things, you know. And I think that on the flip side of that, the positive of that is the fact that you know, that's also becoming that way for people. Everybody seems to be gaining more and more interest in really finding out more and more things. And some people are coming into this information for the first time now. And, you know, it's tough, man. I mean, I've talked about this a million times, but it is a legitimate thing. You know, you go through these stages of being, you know, when you're into this stuff, it's all consuming. So when you first really start your awakening, you know, after your awakening subsides and you start to, you know, acclimate your mindset and your brain and your belief structure to the information. Once you get through that, you're okay. But a lot of people get stuck in this purgatory of sorts where they never get out of that initial shock and freaked out mode. You know, I mean, I don't think closing yourself off from the world and filling your bathtub up with dog food and boarding up the doors and locking yourself out from, you know, the craziness and the evil and the culture and society and all that stuff. I don't necessarily think that that's the way to go. I think that you can figure out. You just have to, you know, it sucks. Believe me, I don't like going to be around these fucking zombies any more than you do. But you start to eventually I just have blinders on to it anymore. You know, I don't even pay attention to these dumbass people anymore around them. It used to drive me crazy, but eventually you get to the point where, you know, you just don't even pay attention to it anymore. But there are people that tend to get to a stage where they just, they're just in freak out panic mode and they can't get out of that. And, they're scared to go outside, or they just want to huddle down in their bunker or whatever with a bunch of guns and storable foods and everything. But, if because of your knowledge of this type of information and whatnot, this type of information is supposed to empower you. It's supposed to, and in many cases it does, and in a lot of people it does do that. But in some cases, it doesn't empower them. It makes them, how some people who are already a little bit kind of mentally unstable upstairs and maybe a little bit crazy and maybe had a history of family, mental problems. And you give those people just a little bit of drugs, a little bit of pot or a little bit of coke, and they just go apeshit crazy insane, or just a little bit of alcohol or something. It already it aggravates their already unstable mental condition. Well, this type of information is the same way as any drug. Everybody's body responds to this information and takes this information in different ways. And some people's minds and bodies reject this information, and then it manifests itself in this, horrible, it's a detritus, it's this horrible thing where it manifests itself in a way that they lose hope and they can't get out of, and they just see everything as, if that grabs a hold of you like that, then they've already won. You need not, I don't know. You need not even worry about this information or care about it or listen to a show like mine or look at the news or anything else. Now, many of us out there, I haven't watched TV in years and years and years. Occasionally a show comes on TV and I want to download it and watch it. I'll do that. Ancient Aliens or V or something like that. Generally stuff that pertains to these topics. So the only thing I watch that comes off of a TV. But, I think that if you're not going to go out into the world armed with this information and the knowledge of it and seek to try and actively do things that can facilitate changing it, maybe you don't feel that there's something you can do yourself to change these things. Well, help somebody out that is, I'm certainly doing everything I can over here to try and do something. And we are having at least a small significant effect. Look how many people know about the Council for National Policy now, and how many less people buy into the phony Patriot movement, Truth movement, everything else. And just like I always said, this was not a call to, some people took this as the wrong way and sort of thought that I was initiating some jump on my team and I'm starting my own movement, jump on my movement team. And that's not what it's been about. And thank goodness people have been smart enough to really listen to what I've been saying all these years. And what that's been is nobody's asking you to join a new club or change the way you already think about anything. You look at information. Just be aware that this group, and there's a whole other faction that's controlling what people believe is the real movement. And it's a fact that it's happening, and you need to be aware of it so you don't fall in any traps or get yourself caught up and hemmed up in that whole ordeal. That's the biggest thing to me, is keeping people from getting themselves involved in that phony controlled movement when it's not even necessary. You can be an individual, not a part of anybody's group, and be your own person and still be into this research and still be into trying to find knowledge and be into trying to change things and get more people informed. You can still do that. And you don't have to be a member of the Truth movement or the Patriot movement or any phony other control paradigm. You can just still be you. And that's good enough. Because these groups and everything, they alienate people. They make people feel that if they're not exactly like what the group wants, and they're cast out. It's that societal structure all over again. That's when I knew that the Truth movement and Patriot movement was a phony, fraudulent control paradigm, because it was the same paradigm that's been used in everything else that our societal construct has provided for us. That right there was my big red flag before I even had all the evidence. So, just, we really all got to stick together as far as, I don't mean like the Truth movement, Patriot movement, those people. If those people are not going to understand what's really going on, then fuck them, let the dead bury the dead. But those of us that are conscious of things and how the world really works, we've all really got to be more supportive of each other and realize that we're all very unique people who are alive on this planet right now and aware of this information. All of us have our own strong points and everything else that we're good at, even though we may not have all found that yet. You got to find your team. You got to find your people that can all contribute to being something greater than ever all the individuals can be. That's why I'm glad we have so many great awake women in our audience. It gives me hope. It gives me hope that one day there will be a woman out there in the world who will be okay with, somebody like me doing research and talking about this stuff and trying to change things with it. And hopefully that person who's okay with that will have sex with me, and it'll be wonderful. And it's, because really, I'm not putting my penis in you if you don't at least have a general idea about the New World Order and about the global power structure and the priest class and in phony religions and secret societies. I mean, you got to at least have a toe in the water. You know what I mean? You got to at least be dabbling. Show me a little effort. Show me a little sign. A little passing interest and passing fad in research. I will not put my penis in you. I'm just letting you know. Straight up. Straight the fuck up. I don't want there to be any surprises, any secrets, later like that. 3 or 4 months later, we've been going out for 3 or 4 months, and all of a sudden, I realize, wait a minute, she never talks about anything about this stuff. She's a poser truther. She's a poser researcher. No, she's not even going to listen to that. But yeah, do your research, if you're an educated female and somewhat attractive and you know what's going on, I'll put my penis in you. But if not, not even gonna deal with it. Don't have time for daywalker sheeple anymore. It's just not my thing. Semen gate, though, I like that word. I do like that contribution there. Anyway, we've got some more news and information to get into here tonight. We don't have any more emails, so we're going to finish up with a few news stories we have, and we're going to get on with reading William Bramley's The Gods of Eden tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 9 to midnight Central Standard Time, over to oraclebroadcasting.com. I'll be on there for 3 hours tomorrow night. Commercial-free, 3-hour powerhouse broadcast. Myself, Lee Rogers, Live Free or Die Radio. 9 to midnight Central Standard Time tomorrow night, Tuesday, at oraclebroadcasting.com. So definitely tune in over there. And as always, is a big good show when I go on with Lee, and looking forward to doing that show tomorrow, and can't wait for it. I think it'll be a good time. So 9 to midnight Central Standard Time tomorrow night. Tune in for that show. It's always good. It's always a good time. Also, this is our fundraising week. We have the Chipping banner there. We had wonky issues. I was getting messages last week. People saying the Chipping banner and the donate button wasn't working. So I don't know. I mean, if you did have problems with it and you didn't get to donate or whatever, just, try it again, see what happens. I'm thank you for letting me know that, though. Some people had problems with it. Some people didn't. So we did change the donate button out there. We use that for other amounts that don't have to do with bills. But anyway, the Chipping banner there, we need to meet that goal by Friday so we can have everything we need for the month. So please act accordingly and help us out there if you can. It keeps us commercial free, uncensored, and helps us continue on with our work, the movies, and everything else. And exciting times pushing forward. So, oh man. Let's finish up here with the news tonight. Just a few more things. You guys heard we had they're saying now that they may have found the Higgs boson particle at the LHC. They unveiled this yesterday on Easter. Isn't it? Wasn't that fitting? Ostara. Easter's it's just boring to me. If it's not about, drinking hemp beer and eating mushrooms and fornicating all night, they took the fun out of Easter. People tripping balls and having sex all night turned into, gay Easter bunnies. I mean, it's not right. But they are continuing to initiate this phony change of power in Yemen. This is huge news. This is going to change this power structure where they put in a United States bank leader that's going to open the door for them to be able to go in and storm the Palace of Sheba and possibly take the Ark of the Covenant. Yemen protesters reject U.S.-backed transition. Yemen's protest movement insisted Sunday on President Ali Abdullah Saleh's rapid exit and prosecution after his party accepted a Gulf plan for him to quit in 30 days in a move hailed by Washington. The United States urged a peaceful transition after Saleh's ruling General People's Congress party said late Saturday it accepted a Gulf Cooperation Council plan under which he would quit following months of protests. However, Saleh himself said that he said any change of regime can only be through ballot boxes and referendums. He said he could not give in to a coup. And the people there that are protesting this know that they're being sold out to the American forces are going to come in and turn that place into a wasteland like they did in Iraq, loot, take the antiquities, and be out of there and leave the people dead. And these people have been trained generationally for thousands of years to keep out people and invaders. In fact, Jews and Arabs used to live in peace in Yemen before the creation of the phony state of Israel. I mean, they've created all these phony divide and conquer paradigms. You know, people left to our own devices, we don't have a tendency to want to kill each other. We don't have a tendency to want to fight and have division. The powers that be and the evil bloodline bastards in charge have been running a plan for thousands of years that keeps us in a constant state of perpetual war, perpetual misery, and constant cogs in the wheel to keep their system going and nothing else. And again, they unleashed the genie out of the bottle by giving us this technology we have access now. I mean, more people are, we have such a big powerhouse of information free flow all around the world now that it's created a massive understanding of things beyond this. I mean, that's why I still have hope, because there are more people on this planet alive right now today that know about what these elite bastards have been doing for thousands of years than there ever has been. All of us, every one of you out there alive right now, listening to the sound of my voice, you're unique. All of us are. We're lucky. We're the luckiest generation ever, because we are now living in a time where more people on this planet know the truth about the people who have been in charge and what this great master plan has been than ever had before. Now, those numbers are still small in the grand scope of things, yeah. But it's still bigger than it ever has been. There's a renaissance. That's what we need, a renaissance of enlightened thinkers, of people who are thinking outside of the box. That's been squashed and conditioned out of us, but it's reawakening. And then the people it's reawakening in, it's blossoming into things that are beyond anything that you could have comprehended you would ever do. Other people are falling off into the cliff of disparity, because this information can set you free and it can also enslave you. The truth can set you free. You know, it's not just the truth will set you free. It can set you free, but it can also enslave you if you give into the fear. And so much of this is designed to keep people in a constant state of fear. You guys hear that Japan is, I heard something about Japan has now called off all of their whaling. They're not going to be doing any whaling in Japan anymore. You know what? As soon as I heard that, and I don't know if it's true or not, but somebody told me that. As soon as I heard that, I said, well, my God, that's proof to me right there that the aliens blew up the fucking Fukushima power plant, caused that to happen. Because, you know, there was all those stories. Remember last year they were talking about how there was extraterrestrial UFOs seen around nuclear power plants and stuff like that. Funny to me that, you know, as this disaster is still going on, Japan finds time through all this to come out and say, oh, we're so sorry. We're not slaughtering any more whales. No, we give up on whaling. Yeah, well, don't blow us. Don't blow in our reactor all the way, and we'll stop killing the. It just makes you wonder, man. If this is, you know, we're being told it's weather wars and all this shit. There's massive something going on with the weather. All these tornadoes, crazy stuff we've had here in Texas. Something odd is happening at reactor number 4. The operator of the troubled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant is carefully monitoring the situation of the number 4 spent fuel pool where the water temperature is rising despite increased injections of cooling water. Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, says it will inject 210 tons of water into the pool on Monday after finding on Sunday evening that the temperature in the pool had risen to 81 degrees Celsius. On Friday, TEPCO found that the pool's temperature had reached 91 degrees, so it began injecting 2 to 3 times the amount of water. The number 4 spent fuel stores 1,535 fuel rods, the most at the nuclear reactor complex. Bear in mind that the amount of radioactive fuel at Fukushima dwarfs Chernobyl. So they're saying that that something very odd is going on here. And it says, to be clear, the Chernobyl figure is radiation released into the environment, while the reactor 4 figure is radiation within the containment vessel. I've seen no evidence to date that reactor 4 is leaking. This is especially odd, given that reactor 4 was supposedly shut down prior to the earthquake for maintenance. In other words, reactor 4 was, according to official reports, shut down and shouldn't have very much radiation at all. Something doesn't add up. In contrast, the radiation inside the cores of the other reactors are much lower. Indeed, the Japanese Nuclear Agency prominently displays the radiation data for all the reactors except number 4 on its main page. Number 4 is conspicuously absent, and if you have to type in the URL for the correct web page to find it. The building housing reactor 4 doesn't seem to be quite as badly damaged as those housing the other reactors. However, a Fukushima engineer says that he helped cover up a cracked containment vessel at reactor number 4 for decades. On the other hand, the fact that no radiation is being reported in the dry well of reactor 4, while there it is for several of the other reactors, might imply that the containment vessel has maintained its stability. At this point, I don't have enough information to determine why the radiation levels inside reactor 4 are so high compared to the other reactors, let alone what it means. It might mean that reactor 4 is in trouble. On the other hand, it could mean that reactor number 4 is the only reactor which still has core integrity. In other words, maybe the other reactor cores have much lower radioactive levels because most of the radiation is already leaked out. Something very strange going on. I think we're definitely going to see more of this. WikiLeaks leaked file accused BBC of being part of a possible propaganda media network. Possible propaganda media network. My God. I mean, WikiLeaks is the classic. Please just tell us something we don't know. They never have. It's just allowing stuff that a lot of us who have been researching this stuff have known about for decades and just slowly letting it trickle out. Oh, by the way. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. All right, we're going to continue on reading here where we left off last time from William Bramley tonight, page 254. And I'm just going to jump right into it here tonight. I'm not going to pull any punches. We're going to continue reading on. At the same time that England was fighting the War of Austrian Secession, it was also fighting the Jacobites. More German troops were needed on that front. On September 12, 1745, Charles Edward of the Stuart family, led by his famous invasion of England by the way of Scotland, Bonnie Prince Charlie, as Charles Edward was called, captured Edinburgh on September 17th and was approaching England with the intent of taking London. That meant more money for Hesse. On December 20th, 1745, Hanoverian King George II announced that he had sent 6,000 Hessian troops to fight in Scotland against Charles Edward. King George presented Parliament with a bill for the Hessian troops. It was approved. The Hessians landed on February 8th of the following year. Meanwhile, back on the European front, England hired more soldiers from Holland, Austria, Hanover, and Hesse to pursue England's interests there. The bills were staggering. The war on the continent finally ended. It was not long, of course, before the rulers of Europe were involved in another one. This time it was the 7 Years' War, one of the longest armed conflicts in European history from 1756 to 1763, up until that time. Frederick of Prussia had switched his allegiance back again to England, and the two nations, England and Prussia, were pitted against France, Austria, Russia, Sweden, Saxony, Spain, and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. Frederick did not ally himself to England this time out of a fickle love for Britain. England was paying him, and by the Treaty of Westminster, effective April 1758, Frederick received a substantial subsidy from the English treasury to continue his fighting, much of it to defend his own interests. The treaty ran from April to April and was renewable annually. During the 7 Years' War, England also paid money to help Hanover defend its own German interests. France had attacked Hanover, Hesse, and Brunswick. Some of the subsidy money paid to Hanover and Hesse was used by those principalities to defend their own borders. The treaty with Hesse, signed on June 18, 1755, shortly before the 7 Years' War erupted, was especially generous. In addition to levy money, money used to gather an army together, and remount money, money used to acquire fresh horses, Hesse was granted a yearly subsidy of £36,000 when its troops were under German pay, and double that when they entered British pay. An additional £36,000 went directly to the coffers of the Landgrave of Hesse. Many English lords did not feel that German troops were worth the money. While discussing a possible French invasion of England, Walpole joked, quote, "If the French do come, we shall at least have something for all the money we have laid out on the Hanoverians and the Hessians." William Pitt, another influential English statesman, added these amusing words to the debate. "The troops of Hanover, whom we are now expected to pay, marched into the Low Countries where they still remain. They marched to the place most distant from the enemy, least in danger of an attack, and most strongly fortified had an attack been designed. They have therefore no other claim to be paid than that they have left their own country for a place of greater security. I shall not therefore be surprised after such another glorious campaign to be told that the money of this nation cannot be here more promptly employed than in hiring Hanoverians to eat and sleep. The German principality to profit most from the soldiers for hire business was Hesse. In taking a quick look at the history of Hesse, we find that after Philip the Magnanimous died in 1567, Hesse was divided between Philip's 4 sons into 4 main provinces: Hesse Castle, also often spelled Hesse Castle, Hesse Darmstadt, Hesse Rheinfels, Hesse Marburg, and the most important and powerful of these Hessian regions became Hesse Castle, into which the Hesse Rheinfels and Hesse Marburg would later be absorbed. Renting mercenaries to England became the Hessian royal family's most lucrative enterprise. Although Hesse itself was scarred during some of the European conflicts, the Hessian dynasty built an immense fortune from the soldier business. In fact, Landgrave Frederick II of Hesse Castle, not to be confused with Frederick II of Prussia or with the German Emperor Frederick II of the Crusades era. Oh, man, goodness. Yeah, not to be confused with that. Phew, that's a lot of info. It made Castle the richest principality in Europe by renting out mercenaries to England during Britain's next great struggle, the War for American Independence, also known as the American Revolution. Also benefiting from the American Revolution was the Royal House of Brunswick. Its head, Charles I, rented soldiers to England at a very handsome price to help fight the rebelling colonists. As we can see, Hanover and a few other German states profited handsomely from the conflicts which had beset England. The problems of Britain gave them the opportunity to plunder the British treasury at the expense of the English people. This had the additional effect of pushing England into ever-deepening debt to the new bankers with their inflatable paper money. The populace of Germany also suffered. Most of the mercenaries rented to England were young men involuntarily conscripted and forced to fight where their leaders sent them. Many were maimed and killed so that their rulers could live in greater luxury. The wealth and influence of a small clique of German dynasties had been built upon the blood of the young. Lurking behind these activities, we continue to find the presence of the Brotherhood Network. As the years progressed, members of the royal families of Hesse and Brunswick emerged as leaders of the strict observance. In 1772, for example, at a Masonic Congress in Colo, Duke Charles William Ferdinand of Brunswick was chosen to succeed von Hund as the Grand Master of the strict observance. Several years after his election to the Grand Master position, Duke Ferdinand succeeded Charles I as the ruler of Brunswick and inherited the money from Brunswick's rental of mercenaries. Sharing leadership duties in the strict observance with the Duke of Brunswick was Prince Karl of Hesse, son of Frederick II of Hesse Castle. According to Jacob Katz in his book Jews and Freemasons in Europe, 1723 to 1939, Prince Karl was later accepted as the head of all German Freemasons. Karl's brother, William, who later inherited the principality and immense fortune of Hesse Castle from their father, was also a Freemason. He had provided mercenaries to England when he earlier ruled Hesse-Hanau. How important a role did the Brotherhood itself really play in manipulating these affairs? To determine if there truly was active Brotherhood involvement of a Machiavellian nature, it would help to discover if there was any single Brotherhood agent who participated first in one faction and then in another. We would require a Brotherhood agent traveling in all circles, from the Jacobites to the electors of Hesse, from the King of France to Prussia. Interestingly, history reveals just such an individual. We would not normally learn of such an agent because of their secrecy surrounding Brotherhood activity. This particular person, however, by virtue of his flamboyant personality, his remarkable artistic talents, and his flair for drama, had attracted so much attention to himself that his activities and travels were noted and recorded for posterity by many of the people around him. Deified by some and declared a charlatan by others, this flamboyant agent of the Brotherhood was best known by a false appellation: the Count of Saint Germain. So chapter 26 is the Count of Saint Germain. I'd like to continue on here right now. A controversial figure in the intrigues of the 18th century Europe was a secretive and colorful individual known as the Count of Saint Germain. Saint Germain's life has been the subject of many articles in at least one book. Ever since his reported death in 1784, there has been a tendency to either deify him or to dismiss him as an unimportant charlatan. Neither characterization seems to accurately reflect what he truly was. Saint Germain's activities are important because his movements provide a fascinating link between the wars going on in Europe, the deeper levels of the Brotherhood, and the clique of German princes, particularly the House of Hesse. The first of many mysteries concerning Saint Germain is the circumstances of his birth. Many researchers believe him to have been the offspring of Francis II, ruler of the once powerful Principality of Transylvania. Transylvania, famous in cinema as the home of the mythical human vampire Dracula and other assorted literary ne'er-do-wells, had ties to the dynasty in Hesse. Francis II of Transylvania had married 16-year-old Charlotte Amalie of Hesse-Rheinfels on September 25, 1694, at the Cathedral of the Cologne in Germany. Out of this union came two known children. However, when the will of Francis II was published in 1737, a third unnamed son was mentioned as a beneficiary. This third child proved to be Leopold George, eldest son and heir to the Transylvanian throne. Leopold George was born in either 1691 or 1696, depending upon which theory of his birth one accepts. Because of the uncertainty of his birth date, it is not known if he was the son of Charlotte of Hesse or of Francis II's prior wife. What does appear certain is that Leopold George's early death in 1700 had been staged to save him from the deadly intrigues which were about to destroy the Transylvanian dynasty and end the independence of Transylvania. Leopold George is believed to have been the Count of Saint Germain. Saint Germain first appeared in European society in 1743 when he would have been a man in his 40s. Little is known about his life before that year. A dossier on the mysterious Count had been created by the order of French Emperor Napoleon III, but unfortunately all of the documents were destroyed in a fire that engulfed the house in which the dossier was stored. This resulted in the loss of irreplaceable information about Saint Germain. Saint Germain's own secretiveness only deepens the mystery about his life. The surviving information indicates that Saint Germain was raised to become one of the most active, colorful, and successful secret political agents of the Brotherhood in the 18th century. Of Saint Germain's early life, strict observance leader Prince Karl of Hesse wrote that Saint Germain had been raised in the childhood by the last of the powerful Medici family of Italy. The Duke of Medici, like some earlier Medicis, was engrossed in the mystical philosophies prevalent in Italy at the time, which may account for Saint Germain's deep involvement in the Brotherhood network as an adult. While under Medici care, Saint Germain is believed to have studied at the university in Siena. Saint Germain's first documented appearance in European society occurred in England in 1743. At that time, the Jacobite cause was very strong, and the 1745 invasion of Scotland was only 2 years away. During those 2 crucial years prior to the invasion, Saint Germain resided in London. Only glimpses of his activities during that time are available. Saint Germain was a gifted musician, and several of his musical compositions were publicly performed in the Little Haymarket Theatre in early February 1745. Saint Germain also had several of his trios published by the Walsh Company of London. British authorities did not believe that Saint Germain was in London to pursue a musical career, however, and in December 1745, with the Jacobite invasion underway, Saint Germain was arrested by the British on suspicion of being a Jacobite agent. He was released when rumored letters from Charles Edward, leader of the Stuart invasion, were not found on his person. Horace Walpole wrote of the arrest afterwards. After his release, Saint Germain departed England and spent 1 year as the guest of Prince Ferdinand, the first minister to the Austrian emperor. The War of Austrian Succession was still raging at that time, in which Austria and England were allied against France and Prussia. During this visit to Austria, Saint Germain was introduced to the French Minister of War, the Marshal de Belleisle, the de Belleisle, who in turn introduced Saint Germain to the French court. This is an interesting sequence of events. Here we have a man arrested as a suspected enemy of England during a time of war, who then immediately went to stay with a top minister of a nation, Austria, which was aligned to England. During that stay, the same man befriended the minister of war of a nation, France, which was the enemy of Austria. Saint Germain's political contacts on all sides of a raging war were remarkable. What Saint Germain did for the next 3 years after leaving Austria is not certain. This guy kind of sounds like Oswald, doesn't he? Like he's a classic patsy type. Saint Germain reappeared in Europe society again in 1749, this time as a guest of King Louis of France. A Catholic nation, France actively supported the Jacobite cause against the Hanoverians of England. France was also involved in many other foreign intrigues. According to a lady of the French court who came to later write of Saint Germain in her memoirs, King Louis had gained fame as an architect of the 18th century secret diplomacy. The acceptance of Saint Germain into the French court and his work for the French king as a political agent is significant for several reasons. First, it points to the important role that Brotherhood members have played in the creation and operation of national and international intelligence networks throughout history, a matter we will consider in more detail in later chapters. Good, I'm glad about that. Secondly, as a Catholic, King Louis adhered to papal decrees. The papacy was hostile to Freemasonry. Indeed, Roman Catholicism and Freemasonry are both factions with origins in the Brotherhood, which have long opposed one another. In 1737, Louis issued an edict forbidding all French subjects to having anything to do with Freemasonry. During the ensuing decades, the French government actively represented the French Freemasons with police raids and imprisonment. Louis's edict of 1737 was followed a year later by Pope Clement's papal bull, which forbade Catholics everywhere from participating in or supporting Freemasonry under penalty of excommunication. Yet, here was the Count of Saint Germain, who would later reveal a lifelong involvement in the Brotherhood, residing as a guest of the king. The likely explanation, based upon the known facts of Saint Germain's life, is that he was not so much a Freemason as he was an agent for the higher Brotherhood. It is also unlikely that the French king understood Saint Germain's role in the Brotherhood network. Saint Germain's exact activities from 1749 through 1755 are largely unknown. In 1755, he made a second trip to India. He went with English commander Robert Clive, who was on his way there to fight the French. India was a major theater of war in which a great deal was at stake. Commander Clive was an important leader on the British side. This trip highlighted once again St. Germain's remarkable political contacts and his ability to travel back and forth between important leaders of warring camps. One biographer has suggested that the Count may have been acting as a secret agent of King Louis of France when he went to India with Clive, for when St. Germain returned, he was awarded in 1758 with an apartment in the French royal palace at Chambord. He was also given laboratory facilities for his chemical and alchemical experiments in which Louis sometimes participated. Saint Germain was clearly a flamboyant and multifaceted character. One of the talents for which he achieved fame was his considerable knowledge of alchemy. Alchemy mixes mysticism with chemistry and was a staple of Rosicrucian practice. Saint Germain had become a topic of gossip in the French court because he claimed to possess the alchemical elixir of life. The elixir was said to be a secret formula which made people physically immortal. This was the same elixir many European Rosicrucians claimed to possess. Saint Germain may have had his tongue slightly in cheek when he made the claim. Or did he? I don't know. You tell me. But this is... Actually, I'm gonna stop right there, and I'll pick up and read there because there's a lot more left in this chapter. So, but it's getting late, getting early, whatever else, and we just need to go ahead and stop right there for tonight. But boy, good stuff with Saint Germain here. Can't wait to see where the rest of this goes because yeah, I mean, it's just a great example of these guys, working on behalf of the Brotherhood and the priest class, playing both sides and working with everybody. We see the same thing today going on here, and it's it's very disheartening to see the fact that we see these connections between these people playing all sides. And then you see the people, like Alex Jones who say, Hollywood movie stars and music industry and all that stuff is a distraction. Yet, he thinks it's a big deal whenever he brings on a movie star or a rock star or anything else. And, voting's retarded. The voting machines are rigged, but vote for Ron Paul. I see this double think, hypocritical mentality there. Classic example of what these custodial minions do when they're playing both sides. Well, the mainstream media is crap, but it's not crap if Alex Jones has to go on The View to defend Charlie Sheen and, folks, I saw this already. I stuck my hand clean up his ass. I saw it. I felt it, folks. Touched it, folks. Even touched it. He's clean, folks. Yeah. My hand didn't, though, but, it's fine. I do it for liberty, folks. So you see what I'm saying here? I mean, when you see people playing that, no, I'm not on the Glenn Beck, Rush Limbaugh side. No. Those guys are the enemy. He goes on their show or whatever have you. You see that? Classic playing both sides. More and more evidence, more and more that we read, more and more that we find out that we see this evidence of these people, just running divide and conquer stuff. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, this is our fundraising week. We have the chip and banner there. We need to reach the goal by Monday. Please help us reach that goal so we can pay the bills and be good to go for the month. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you. 9 to midnight Central Standard Time tomorrow night. Lee Rogers and me over there at Oracle Broadcasting for 3 hours. Come over there and join us. I love you guys. You have a great night. Take care.